This podcast is made possible by the listener members of Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's May 29th, 2025. On this day in 1968, the Truth in Lending Act was signed into law. You know those pages of fine print that you're given whenever you get a credit card? Well, all that information is given to you because of the Truth in Lending Act. And the terminology and all that legalese was standardized by that law so that lenders couldn't do what they used to do, which was to all have their own vocabulary that wasn't really comparable to their competitors. The idea was that if everyone gives the information in the same way, consumers could make informed decisions about which mortgage or line of credit is right for them. And through the years, the law has been amended to add all kinds of specifics that must be disclosed, again, to help you, the consumer, make an informed choice. That's assuming you understand it, or that you read it at all. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. The Truth in Lending Act definitely helped fix some of the problems consumers were running up against before it was passed, but it's proved to be far from a foolproof solution. Finances are complicated. The information lenders have to disclose is hard for a lot of people to understand, even with standardization. And in the years since 1968, it's been this cat and mouse game of banks and credit card companies finding loopholes that Congress or states fix, only for new wrinkles to show up. And when that giant wall of fine print is standing between a person having a really hard time making ends meet and some kind of credit that will help them pay the rent or buy groceries, well, a lot of people skip to the line where they need to sign and say, yeah, I agree to whatever, just give me this credit. And that's basically the category that one kind of payday loan program pioneered in Tennessee falls into. It's called a flex loan. And a recent investigation by the Tennessee Lookout and ProPublica found that those loans have resulted in financially catastrophic situations for thousands of people in this state, especially in some of our most impoverished communities. In the last decade, Advance Financial has filed 110,000 lawsuits against borrowers who are struggling to repay flex loans. While a lot of people don't fully understand when they sign the dotted line, is that the extremely high interest rate and daily fees on flex loans can make the balance grow at a lightning fast pace. Before long, people owe exponentially more than the amount they borrowed. Oh, and when they sue a customer for non-payment, the law says the lender can charge their attorney's fees to the customer. How is that even legal? Well, in most states, it isn't. Flex loans are widely considered to be predatory. But when Tennessee passed its law allowing them in 2015, the industry presented them as the more reasonable alternative to the other payday loan products that were the norm at the time. Those had extremely high upfront interest rates. The amount you could borrow was capped at $500, but it was widely believed that the federal government was about to really crack down on them. So companies like Advance Financial came up with alternative strategies, and the open-ended flex loan was born. Now, the thing that got talked about a lot in the legislature when the measure passed was that the lenders couldn't charge anything more than 24% interest. That was supposed to be this strong consumer protection, even though 24% is still pretty high. It was billed as a far more affordable option, but that's only the case if they're paid off in a week or two. People who are cash-strapped enough to want that type of loan in the first place aren't often in a real position to pay things off so quickly, so those daily fees start to pile up. When you add those in, the effective annual rate can be as high as 279%. So before they know it, the customer reaches the point of no return, where no amount they can afford to pay will make anything like a real dent in the balance. On top of that, the Tennessee law allowing flex loans stripped out many of the protections in place for people who borrow using other, more traditional types of payday loans. The problem is particularly rampant in impoverished areas of East Tennessee. In Hamblen County, 1 in every 32 residents have been sued by Advance Financial over flex loans that ballooned beyond what they could pay. It doesn't have to be like this. There are 20 states in the United States where all payday loans are illegal. And according to the Center for Responsible Lending, 20 of the states that do allow them cap the annual percentage rate at 36%. Remember, with a flex loan, the effective annual rate in Tennessee can end up as high as 279%. That's a huge difference. A black bear was recently spotted in Sumner County. It's the first time that kind of animal has been seen there in a decade. Last year, we heard reports of sightings in Williamson County, too. So it may be time for Middle Tennesseans to become a little more bear aware. In just a few minutes, a story to help with that from one of our partner stations. That's coming up after the newscast.
Thematic Static on WNXP is the mixtape we make together, a themed set loosely organized by you, the listener, handpicking songs according to a theme. Airing first Thursdays at 9 a.m. and again Saturdays at 9 a.m., Thematic Static plucks your requests from the socials at WNXP Nashville and by voice memo at 615-320-9100. Thematic Static, the mixtape we make together, supported by United Record Pressing, only on WNXP.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Members of Nashville's Metro Council are calling for the resignation of one of their colleagues. The council's Immigrant Caucus issued a statement yesterday condemning remarks made by Council member David Benton earlier this week. Benton spoke at a Memorial Day press conference held by Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles to call for an investigation into Nashville's mayor. Benton called on the mayor to defend Nashville and, quote, stop the invasion. He also called for another investigation into a fund which seeks to support immigrants. The Belonging Fund, set up by the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, does not use taxpayer or government dollars. However, Benton is asking for an audit to see if it violates U.S. code. In response, the Immigrant Caucus criticized Benton's vilification of immigrants and said he was, quote, no longer fit to represent our community. An East Tennessee woman detained by ICE in March says she lost her midterm pregnancy last month after pleading for days for medical help. Iris Diana Monteroso Lemos tells the Nashville Banner she then spent 3 days with her stillborn inside her womb at the Richwood Correctional Center in Louisiana. She was sent there following arrest in Lenoir City over a child custody court hearing. She says she couldn't attend because it was on a Saturday. Her partner posted bail, but ICE placed a detainer hold on Monteroso Lemos. She was then transferred to 4 detention centers in 4 states before being deported to her native Guatemala. Throughout detention, she says conditions were filthy, food was bug-infested, and she received little medical care. Under recent Democratic administrations, the Banner reports that pregnant women were largely shielded from detention. Monteroso Lemos' partner, an American citizen, says he wants to join her in Guatemala. A former Tennessee funeral director is accused of taking money to ship the remains of loved ones for overseas burials after surrendering his license in 2020 over multiple identical complaints. The Tennessee Lookout reports the new legal filings are part of an ongoing lawsuit against Reed Van Ness. He was found to have left multiple dead bodies to decay for months and of falsifying shipping records. At least 5 families filed suit against Van Ness and 4 Middle Tennessee funeral homes that stored the bodies for him. A 2021 state consumer alert urged Tennesseans to report Van Ness to law enforcement after receiving complaints that he was offering funeral services to Spanish-speaking residents in Rutherford County. Nevertheless, Van Ness says he has the right to provide, quote, volunteer funeral service and is fighting to do so in federal court. The Tennessee Valley Authority recently suggested it might extend the life of its coal plants. TVA announced a plan a few years ago to gradually retire coal over the next 10 years. At the time, TVA said keeping old plants would be risky for reliability and costs. But TVA now has publicly recanted this idea. Stephen Smith, director of the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, says it boils down to TVA's anxiety about the Trump administration, which has been pushing coal.
Much of this is a political discussion that TVA is having publicly to send a signal to the Trump administration that they're responding to some of Trump's desires.
In the past few years, TVA has claimed its own self-determined deadline for coal retirement is why it needed to build big gas plants. A mosquito trap in Madison has tested positive for West Nile virus. The Metro Public Health Department has a pest management team which sets and checks traps across the county. The positive sample came from a trap off Neely's Bend Road. It was the first time the virus has been detected in a mosquito pool this year, according to a press release. No human cases have been reported. Last year, there was a high level of West Nile detected in Metro's mosquito pools. Tennessee reported 9 West Nile cases to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in 2024. Cheekwood Estate and Gardens is planning to build a $25 million parking structure. For 40 years, Cheekwood had an agreement with the city, allowing the nonprofit to use city property next to the gardens for overflow parking. But the most recent agreement, penned earlier this year, pushes the botanical garden towards parking independence. The Tennessean reports the new contract requires better traffic management strategies and increased rideshare and off-site shuttle options. It also takes away the city lots, which had about 160 parking spaces. Cheekwood's new parking structure will have space for 750 vehicles, including several EV charging stations, an easy rideshare drop-off and pickup area, a new ticketing center, a 28,000-square-foot green roof, and a sustainable rainwater harvesting system. It's expected to be completed in 2027. Middle Tennessee native Vidula Calathur has made it to the finals of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. The 13-year-old is a rising 8th grader at Woodland Middle School in Brentwood. She's one of hundreds of kids that traveled to Washington, D.C. this week, competing to be the nation's top speller. The competition also includes vocabulary rounds. On Wednesday night, Calathur correctly defined the word latitudinarian, advancing her to the finals.
B does not insist on strict enforcement of standards or norms.
That is correct.
Thank you.
She and 34 other spellers will compete today in the 9th round of the competition. That begins at 7 o'clock Central tonight. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Not too long ago, the black bear population was in serious jeopardy across several states, including Tennessee. In West Virginia, it was estimated to be just 500 animals. While conservation efforts brought them back from the brink, today, human interactions are causing a different problem. West Virginia Public Broadcasting's Eric Douglas has the story.
It's not every day I schedule an interview beside a trash can, but there's a reason for it. The dumpsters at Beckley West Apartments are special. They are designed to help keep bears out and keep bears and humans safe at the same time. Colin Carpenter, a black bear project leader with the West Virginia Division of Natural Resources, walked me through it.
This is an incredibly bear-resistant dumpster, and the thing that makes it bear-resistant is the fact that it's got metal lids on top, so the bear can't chew through it or pry it open, and it's got metal doors on the side that latch, and that is the key.
The area on top of the hill in the apartment complex used to have a bear problem.
It was rough. We had a lot of bears running around up here. They were tearing everything up, and at one point we had a mama bear with 3 cubs getting in the trash cans. And
that was Jerry Kinsinger. He's lived at the apartment complex for 15 years.
But it's got a lot better now. It's just the dumpsters. As long as you keep the doors closed and everything like that, it's good.
Carpenter explained how the dumpsters work and some of the user errors that limit their usefulness.
On here is this particular dumpster is not latched currently. Now, the good news is the door is closed because, as Jerry mentioned, one of the biggest issues that we have with bears getting into dumpsters is when people, you can have a bear-resistant dumpster in place, but if the folks don't close the doors, then you have problems.
Bears are around all the time, but their human interactions hit twice a year.
Our bear complaints peak typically when natural foods are scarce. So you've got bears that are coming out of the den, all of the bears, males, females, cubs, adults, and they're coming off of a time of scarcity, right? They've fasted all winter, lived off their body fat. Now they're coming out at a time of year when natural food is not real abundant. So they're subsisting on green vegetation for those first couple months. We also have the bear breeding season going on. So in June and July is when bears are breeding. So all of this activity is coinciding with a time of food scarcity.
And that's where DNR staff have to get involved. In the past, they would relocate bears to more appropriate habitats. But Carpenter says years of evidence has shown many bears don't fare well when that happens.
The scientific literature has learned that older bears, adult bears, especially males, do not fare as well when you move them. So if we have a food condition habituated bear, it ends up getting dispatched. And it's a sad thing for the bear because these issues can be prevented, as we just saw with the dumpster.
Carpenter said there have been situations where people have hand-fed ice cream or other treats to bears. But that action means the bear will have to be put down.
So it's a sad thing to see, especially when we know that these things can be easily prevented.
As with everything, money is a problem. and a bear-resistant dumpster costs more of it.
We're trying to build a relationship with bear biologists and the trash companies to say, hey, look, we've got these issues that we're facing out here in the world. Can you work with us to come up with solutions?
Since the early 1970s, when there were fewer than 500 bears in West Virginia, in about 8 to 10 counties in the eastern mountains, conservation efforts and tracking have changed that to 12 to 14,000 bears in all 55 counties. Of course, that is a success story, but it brings with it its own set of challenges. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Eric Douglas in Charleston.
Thanks for listening to the Nash Villager podcast. We do this news roundup every weekday, so subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. And if you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nash Villager newsletter, too. You'll get perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories we're following. Sign up for those daily emails at WPLN.org/NashVillager. And that's it for today. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.